Good morning, friends. This is the Prepared Suburbanite. Some very interesting news has popped up about the ongoing saga of the FBI's raid at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's residence in Florida. It appears that the magistrate, which is the judge in Florida that signed the original order, the raid order, I guess, that he has scheduled a hearing for tomorrow on whether the affidavits, which contains all the gory details, whether those affidavits should be released to the public. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that's going to turn out the way folks are hoping that it's going to turn out. But I'll wait and see. We'll be reporting back when we get that interesting bit of news. There's been a couple of other very interesting things. I mentioned in a video earlier, yesterday I think, that Biden was going to sign the Inflation Reduction Act, and of course I predicted that, as soon as he signed it, that inflation would truly go away, and I'm not sure that it has. But there are some very interesting and very conflicting news stories about what's really going on with that. So stick around right after the intro. So here's the news article about the hearing on unsealing the FBI Mar-a-Lago search records. The U.S. Magistrate Bruce Reinhart scheduled an in-person hearing on Thursday, which would be the 18th, in Florida regarding the unsealing of the FBI records related to last week's raid of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. The hearing is set to be August 18th in West Palm Beach. Reinhart will discuss with the government and Trump's legal team the motion to unseal the search warrant materials and attachments. The affidavit for the search warrant likely is included in that material. So, likely. So there's already a hedge going on there. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. It's the next step, I think. I'm not even sure who requested this hearing, but I'm assuming that it was the Trump legal team that requested this hearing. I don't suspect they're going to get the outcome that they're thinking about. In other news, the Washington Post has got a headline out there that says, midterms are looking much better for Democrats because of Trump. So what the Washington Compost is trying to allude to is that Trump is in such serious trouble here with this FBI raid on his home that that's fueling the hopes of the Democrats come the midterm elections in November, that they feel like they're much better positioned now than they were before the raid because Trump is in such dire straits right now. Well, we'll see how that plays out. In other news that happened yesterday, and I mentioned it in yesterday's video, that President Biden was going to sign the Inflation Reduction Act at some time yesterday afternoon, and I guess it happened around 3:30 or 4 o'clock or so. He took a break from his vacation and came back and signed this historic legislation that's going to save the planet, that's going to save the Democrat Party, that's going to do everything under the sun except reduce inflation. But what I found very interesting was, as I was checking the news this morning, found out that there are a number of different numbers that are attached to these news articles. It says here that Biden signs the $430 billion climate and healthcare spending bill to fight inflation. Now that's $430 billion that they're reporting here. I think this came from Breitbart, and it was in their daily spread of news articles that they have available for us. 430. Remember that number, 430. When we get to Fox News, the headline is, you ready? Biden signs $739 billion Inflation Reduction Act into law and slams the GOP for voting against the law and the climate deal. That's $739 billion. So I'd like to know where the other, $300 billion went. Did it go somewhere? Is it in Hunter Biden's laptop? I'm not sure where it is. And CNN is reporting that Biden signs the Inflation Reduction Act into law, and they are quoting a number of $750 billion for the health care, tax, and climate bill. Can somebody get the numbers right here? If you go to the news sources to try to find the information that you need to make decisions, to understand what's going on in the world today, and you get such despairing data, anywhere from 430 billion to 739 billion to 750 billion, and I've seen other numbers floating around out there. Now, it's very difficult, I'm sure, to gauge the overall total cost of a sweeping piece of legislation like this, but to be off by a factor of 45% or maybe 40%, whatever it turns out to be. I didn't do the math on that one, but when you're really looking at what's going on here, what is it that they think we are? Do they think that we're just like stupid and we just believe everything that they tell us, or what? That we don't have the capacity to look over there or look over there and find the right information? So I don't know what the right information is now. I had heard early on that it was like $759 billion. So I have no idea what it's going to cost. I'll bet it costs more than that in the total victims that are going to be out there, with a whole bunch of new IRS agents that are trying to prove that they earn their salary every 2 weeks in the government payrolls, that they're going to have to come up with something to justify their existence out there. And I'm finding it extraordinarily difficult to come to grips with the way the media is acting right now. It does appear that the media has been pushed into trying to support anything that goes on in the Biden administration. They're talking landmark legislation victories for the Biden administration, and that should be enough in and of itself to guarantee him one more term in office. The spin is absolutely amazing. And in other news, Liz Cheney is no longer a representative from the state of Wyoming, or at least she won't be in January when the new House takes their seats. The speech that she gave, her concession speech, I guess you could call it, is absolutely horrific. trying to align herself with Abraham Lincoln, because basically the founder of the Republican Party, and saying, yeah, because he lost a couple of races, both in the House and in the Senate, and he did lose a couple, but he ended up being president. Is Liz Cheney truly thinking about, truly considering a run for president? So I'd like to know from you all whether you would vote for Liz Cheney for president on the Republican ticket, were she to run in 2024 for president. I don't think she's going to quite get that far, but in today's world, pretty much anything is possible. I remain very concerned about what's going on with our food supply. The food supply crisis that I think that we're about to see and get into the details. And if you've been to the grocery store lately, you can see the increases in the prices that are on the shelves. But what we do see is stuff on the shelves in most places. Yeah, there's a few places here and there that are short-stocked with specific items and things like that. But around here, I'm not seeing any grandiose shortages of anything. But what we are seeing is price increases all over the place. I'm concerned about the droughts. I'm concerned about the weather in the wheat basket and in the prairie areas that grow our wheat, that grow the corn, that grow the soybeans, that are tending to the cattle and the chickens and things like that. Fertilizer shortages, I can just see this is the beginning of a perfect storm for about 6 to 8 months out from now, where we won't have the availability of things, nor are we going to be able to afford the things that we consume on a regular basis. And I'm talking dairy products and meat products, fruits and vegetables, things that we need to actually live on. We're not going to be able to afford it, and it's not going to be available when we do think we can afford it. So I remain very concerned about that, and would urge every single person that's listening to this broadcast to make sure that now is the time to stock up on pretty much everything that you use on a normal, regular basis in your home for your food, for yourself and your family. Stock up on everything that you can possibly stock up on, and do it ASAP while we can still find it and while we can still afford it. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always, and I'll see you all on the next video.